Hey, well, good morning to you this morning. I hope you're having a great day because I am. This morning, I want to take you on a brief walk and tour with me. I want you to see the before, and then I'm going to want you to see the after. This morning, I am at the Beatitudes. So the Beatitudes was a place my grandmother, my grandparents built back in the late 70s, early 80s. So my grandmother, who was a minister, an ordained minister, and she was an ordained minister in the years where women were fought actively against to preach the gospel. And so women were fought actively against to preach the gospel. And so the church rejected her. The church rejected her and would not allow her to serve in her gifts. And she was rejected by the church. And my grandmother had such a strong will. She was such a strong woman that she decided to build her own center. She built her own center. That's right. She built this place, the Beatitudes. And this was a place where on Saturdays, my family would meet for prayer. And we would meet for prayer and exhortation. And I remember every Saturday, regardless of who you were and where you were, it was expected that you would be here on Saturday night. And I'm telling you, it set a spiritual legacy in my life that I cannot even explain to you. It set a tone in my spirit that I cannot even explain to you. So I want you to understand something, that, you got to look and either you got to remember the legacy in your own life, or you got to build a legacy in the life of your family. And so I want you to understand something. This place was about prayer. This place was about building something strong. Well, this morning, my aunt has just given her blessing, and I'm going to open this place back up, right? We're going to open it back up for what it was intended for. We're going to build the kingdom here. And I want you to be in much prayer, okay? Why? Because it's important that we get our families, our children, we get the next generation back into a place and a spirit of prayer. It's so important. So listen, guys, this is what I call a woman for progress. My grandmother was a woman for progress, right? She was in the 70s running her own farm operation, farming hundreds of acres. She was in the 70s and 80s building her own church because she had been rejected by the organized church at the time. Now, they came to her when they wanted prayer. They came to her when they needed to be healed. They came to her when they had been diagnosed with cancer because she had a tremendous gift of healing. She had a tremendous gift of prophecy, but would not recognize her as an ordained minister. I mean, it's just classic, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to work to build a kingdom together. My grandmother, my grandmothers, and my mother, I feel like Timothy because a lot of my spiritual development was really there. I really was developed. My mother really taught us the word, read to us the word every night, right? And some things you forget. You don't remember those things. But I want you to understand that today is a day where I declare, I understand, like my grandmother, I'm not like everybody else. I think for myself, I stand on what I believe, and what I realize is part of my dilemma has been I've been trying to be like other people, and I can't be them. You know, I'm called by God to do his work, you know, and so maybe that's a word for somebody. Stop. You got to be who you are. I'm running for state senate because God told me to run for state senate, not because I have some grandiose idea of being involved in the political system. However, as a believer, as believers, we're supposed to impact every sphere of society. Every sphere of society is supposed to be impacted by the believer, right? And so understanding that and grabbing hold of this, it's going to be critically important for each of us to understand that we cannot sit back and watch the demise of our community without standing up. And somebody has to be telling the truth. I got some advice from a bishop that I respect very much on last night. And 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 I don't know whether he was advising me or whether he was trying to, straighten me out. But he said, yeah, telling the truth, but it's the way you tell the truth. But understand, oftentimes people don't want to hear the truth. And I just read a quote yesterday that says, if the truth kills them, they will die. In other words, there are people who do not want to hear the truth. So nobody wants to hear the truth about what's happening in and around us. We want to blame others for what's wrong with us over and over again. What I'm saying to you as a man of God, I'm saying to you that is not how we can operate. That's not how we can function. We got to take responsibility. As a man, I'm taking responsibility for the condition of my community. As a man, I'm taking responsibility for the condition of my family. That's what men do. Men take responsibility. So there is a absolute tragic situation going on in our state Senate. You might say, Pastor Pickett, we know that the Republicans have a supermajority. No, it's bigger than that. They do have a supermajority. But there's a loss of any thought of accountability in our communities, both black and white, Democrat and Republican, Christian, so forth, that people have refused any accountability. So therefore, when people have no accountability, they're left to themselves to do what they want to do and say what they want to say and pass laws that they want to pass. But here's what's tragic. Those that we elected to represent us, in our community, they have by and large sat silent. So the reason my opponent and many of his colleagues are walking around telling others that we need to keep them in office because they want to keep the same thing. They want to keep the same lack of accountability, lack of progress. They want to keep that going. They want to keep the lack of progress going. And so therefore, they don't want change. They don't want anybody with the courage to tell truth. They want things to stay the way they are. And that's tragic because who keeps doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result? We cannot continue to operate that way. And just as my grandmother took the courage many years ago to build this place, much like Noah building the ark, she was talked about, she was ridiculed, she was lied on, all those things, but yet they persisted. Yet they continued to do the work. So y'all, let me tell you what we're going to do. we're going to continue to do the work, okay? And so I need your support. I need your support as a man of God. I'm a pastor, and we need to get back into worship. I need your support as a father, pray for my children, husband, but I need your support as a candidate for state senator. We're in the last 3 weeks of this race, and I need your support to represent you. I need your support to be your representative in the state senate. That's what I need. I need your support to be your representative in the state senate. Why? Because my opponent, along with his colleagues, along with those that are saying we need to keep him, let me explain something to you. It's because they have operated by and large with no accountability, and their lack of progress has been accepted by people. And their lack of ability to pass any bills or to enact any change has been accepted. And nobody wants to talk about the fact that my opponent, along with his colleagues, did not oppose House Bill 1020. They did not oppose it in the beginning. They did not oppose it in 2016. They did not. They did not oppose it this legislative session until the coalition got together and began to protest. They did not oppose it. They were signing off on it. And it was such a shocking thing to their Republican colleagues because they had meetings already, you know, and so they were trying to figure out where was all this attack coming from. And let me tell you something, it's because of the cowardly failure to take a stand for what's best for all people. And that's being a coward. And the Lord told us to stand with the least of these, right? I'm not saying standing with people when they're wrong. I'm simply standing for what's right, okay? So let me remind you of some things right now. Let me remind you, because I felt very personally attacked by the sheriff on last night, and I simply asked a question about Jackson Police and the Hinds County Sheriff Department working with Capitol Police. And my concern was, how do you work with an agency that has proven that they have no concern for black and brown people? How do you work with an agency that does that? How do you work with an agency that does not take a stand for what's right? How do you work with an agency that has massacred and or stomped in the ground people or harassed citizens with no accountability? But we got a problem. And the sitting sheriff made a statement. He said, well, when he was asked, I didn't ask the question to him personally, I asked the question to the group, but he jumps and grabs the mics and says that, it's personal. It is not personal for me. I did not get involved with this because of what they did to my son. I got involved with this because of them killing Jalen Lewis. I got involved even more as I kept getting calls and did research and got reports from officers of the way that they were treating our citizens and with no accountability. So listen to me. If you got black boys, you need to be aware of this, right? And so I'm concerned for all. And even though it'd be nothing wrong with it being personal for me, if I'm going to stand up for somebody, why would I not stand up for my own son? Why would I not stand up for my own community? Matter of fact, I don't understand people that don't hold the line for their own community. Because let me tell you why. It's because they've been compromised by the enemy. And I refuse to sit back. I refuse to be quiet another day. I refuse not to talk about it. You know why? Because God's going to hold me accountable. He's going to hold me accountable for what I don't say, the truth that I know and I don't tell. Correct? So I committed when I began this journey to tell you the truth. God didn't tell me to start holding back on the truth because I'm running for office. I'm running for office because that's what he told me to do. But understand something, I've got to tell the truth. Sometimes when it hurts. Listen to me. I get calls from people that are being harassed and abused by Capitol Police officers. Do I believe things can get better? Yes. But you can't have peace without truth. You can't have true peace without accountability, without somebody being held accountable. I believe that the sheriff in Rankin County is going to hold those guys accountable. He fired them. But I'm not sure about Bo Luckett. I'm not sure about Commissioner Tyndale. I'm not sure because they refuse to even meet about it. So how can you work together with people that don't have your same values about how you treat people? You cannot violate people's rights. That's serious. But nobody wants to talk about the truth. So let me remind you that Jalen Lewis was basically massacred with no gun in his hand, with no shots fired from him, and there's been no report or accountability. Yet, Attorney General Lynn Finch had the time to get involved in a situation where a police officer was found guilty by a jury of his peers for culpable manslaughter for the death of George Robinson. But there's been no report about Jalen Lewis. There's been no report about others that have been chased to their death, stomped in the ground, beaten, harassed by police officers. And then this same police officer, Officer Jordan has the audacity now to sue me for what he did. It's crazy. But that's the craziness we live in. That's the craziness we live in. That's the craziness we live in. Right? And I'm trying to educate my people so you'll stop living in the craziness. Let's talk about these endorsements. The Women for Progress endorsed my candidate or endorsed my opponent. And you know what? That is their right to endorse who they want to endorse, especially when it's they that's doing it and not just one or two that's doing it. That's their right to endorse who they want to. It's on them. However, what I was requested of was to give money. I don't give money to organizations that I don't know exactly what they stand for. And I felt like it'd be unethical for me to give them money. And I knew I was meeting with them with the possibility of an endorsement. So I couldn't give them money because I don't pay for endorsements. I don't pay for endorsements. I'm not going to pay you to support me. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't have the money for that. I got grandchildren. I'm going to take care of my own. But I will not pay for endorsements as I'm hearing that some have done. I don't know whether they did it or not. I just heard it. It doesn't matter to me because at the end of the day, voters matter to me, right? The people in this district matter to me. The people in this county matter to me. The people from the county all the way up to the city, that's who matter to me. The people who are the least of these matter to me, right? And so that's what's going to stand. That's what I'm going to stand on. I'm going to stand on it, and I'm going to do it God's way. When I hear black, quote-unquote, elite say that we need a white face to represent us, you sound like you're in slavery. I ask you this. All of you that said that, and you know who you are, you said it. We need a white face to represent us, and you know we need a white face to represent us. Doctors, let me ask you a question, doctors. How many white patients do you have? Right? But you say you need a white face to represent you at the state senate, How many white patients that you have that are not on special assistance? Huh? Talk to me. I'm not going to call names, but talk to me about that. How many white patients do you have? Lawyers. Tell me, how many white patients do you have? People that you have that didn't need to make a deal as to why they didn't get a white attorney. See, that's the kind of stuff that blows me away. Contractors. Explain to me, how much state business are you getting? I already know none. 0.01%. Unless you're a ride-along or a pass-through for somebody else. Guess why? Because our state does not give contracts to black and brown contractors, and then they say it's because they're not. I've been studying that since 2010, 2009, but yet I got to hear from people that are benefiting as to why they should support my opponent over me. It's crazy, right? He is a career politician, 16 years. As a career politician, not with any other real meaningful job, but a career politician who has $200,000 in his account as a state senator in his war chest. But listen to this. But yet he's asking for volunteers to help. Man, it's amazing to me. So what I decided to do, I'm holding every event I have at a black-owned restaurant. I'm hiring right now. My campaign manager is hiring. We're hiring right now canvassers that we're going to pay a living wage. And instead of me giving my money to the television station, to the white-owned biased television station, I'm not going to do it. I'll give it to people. I'd rather them get this money and them go out and knock on doors and pass out flyers, whatever they do. You know, I'd rather do that. Why? Because I stand for something. And I'm asking my people to stand for something. I'm asking y'all to stand for something. Because when you stand with me, you standing for somebody that's going to stand for you. Matter of fact, I'm going to stand for you whether you stand with me or not. I'm just that kind of crazy, I guess, because I just want everybody to be treated right. So, I don't know. I guess I got a special level of courage up here today. I feel it in my spirit that if we're going to change, our environment, we're going to change our state, it's going to happen when black and brown people stand together courageously against the wrong and the systematic racism and the injustice, and stand for those that can't stand for themselves. We have gotten beside ourselves and we have decided to do it our own way, and God is not pleased. Let me tell you this last thing. When I hear people say it ain't about race, let me tell you something. I agree everything's not about race. Everything's not about race, but I tell you what it is. The underfunding of public schools. I tell you what it is. The fact that they refuse to make Moss Point and designate Moss Point where the people can directly get the money. I tell you what it is. I tell you what it is the systematic takeover of House Bill 1020 that was set up by people outside of our district, that's outside of our area, that proposed these laws and proposed it and got it passed with a supermajority, by and large by people who do not live in or around this district, who had nothing to lose. I tell you what is wrong, that when a sitting state attorney general will publicize and say that a person that was found guilty by a jury of their peers deserves to be reversed, and instead of standing with the local district attorney, I mean, it's amazing to me. But nobody's saying anything. Like my friend says, there's no public outcry. There's no public outcry that Miss Tasha Smith was lying in her bed one night, she and her child, and she was shot because of the recklessness of Capitol Police officers, and yet she go to court and the judge throws it out of court. Recklessly shot in her arm, bullets still in her arm, still living with pain and PTSD along with her baby daughter. And yet she goes to a court where they throw it out and say that the people are not liable. That's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. There's no public outcry. There's no public outcry for the Tasha Smiths of the world. There's no public outcry for the George Robinsons of the world. There's no public outcry for the Jalen Lewises of the world. There's no public outcry, only accusations and words. And guess what? There's no public outcry for when they warned me. I was warned by police officers. I was warned by JPD police officers, as well as some of the good Capitol police officers, that I had a target on my back, and if they can't get you, they're going to get your child. And guess what? They did it. They followed through with it. But the problem is there's no public outcry. Don't even mention what they've done to others. I mean, it's amazing to me. And I want every pastor, every man of God, woman of God, those that know the Lord, you better remember what Jesus said when I was hungry, when I was in prison, there are prisoners locked up down at Raymond Detention Center right now that are being beaten by fellow inmates, don't have proper medical care. It ain't just mental medical care. They don't have proper physical medical care, all those things. And yet we playing around and we sitting back as if this is all right. And then when we began to accept this is okay, when we began to accept that one or two people can choose who an organization is going to endorse based on how much money they give, when we began to accept that to be okay, that's when we've lost our way. That's what's wrong in our community. Listen, my Caucasian friends and frenemies, I want to take full responsibility, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying that your people and you don't have any responsibility. But I'm going to tell you something. The main responsibility is on us. When we going to stand up? I'm asking all of my fellow pastors, when we going to stand up? You don't have to support me. You've proven that you don't want to support me, but you really not. Most of y'all never really supported me in anything. You didn't support me when I first came. You didn't support me when the church began to grow. You accused me. You made accusations. Oh, he's not preaching the gospel, all that stuff. So I'm used to that. That don't bother me. But what bothers me, that you can see your own people suffering, and yet you watch the man that you know has not benefited the whole of your community, but because he's benefited you, you can support him. It's amazing to me. So I am now the official local prophet for my area. And I'm going to preach to teach the word. I'm going to stand on truth. I'm going to stand on righteousness. And I'm going to stay on the front line for you. That's what I'm going to do. I'll be back. This is what I'm asking y'all to do. Share this with as many people as you need to. Put explanations. Explain to them what House Bill 1020 for those that don't know. Explain to them how a select group of our senators went behind the city of Jackson's back to try to get a special session called without even talking to the mayor, without even having a conversation with the mayor, right? That's the kind of stuff we got to get to the bottom of, right? We got to get to the bottom of that kind of stuff. We got to get to the bottom of it, because enough is enough, y'all. Enough is enough, where it's okay, where a group of folk can get together, write a letter. See, that's the kind of stuff y'all don't know. See, I got receipts. And there are things that I found out that, man, once I found those things out, it blew me away. When I found those things out, it shut me down for a while. You know why it shut me down? Because I couldn't believe the people that we elected would actually go behind the back of a city government, predominantly and populated by black and brown people, and seek to run back now. They were trying to regionalize the water. So their goal was to regionalize the water. And so these group of delegates signed off on a letter trying to work with the lieutenant governor to regionalize the water, which is no good for the city. But you know why? Because what I found is that many of them, I didn't say all, many of them do not have the best interests of their constituents. They have their own best interests. And because they know they're dealing with an uneducated population, they're able to say stuff, and then right there toward the end, if they have an opponent, they can try to fix it all up. Hey, you've been identified. I got receipts on y'all. I know who you are, right? And here's the problem with me. I'm not scared. And somebody said, well, Pastor, what are they going to say about you? Say it. It's all right. I'd have told pretty much all of it that I know of. But here's what I will not do. I will not allow myself to put my well-being above the well-being of the people. That's what I'm talking about. And that's who I am. That's who I was born to be. And I'm going to die that way. Right? I told my children, be on the lookout because they got a target on y'all's back. So y'all watch out, do what you're supposed to do. So I'm not tricked, I'm not fooled, but guess what? I'm unbought, unpaid for. I am a man of God. You know what? Many times the people in the Bible rejected what the prophets had to say. Some of them are telling you it's going to be all right, it's good. They lying. It's not all right. It's not good. Jackson, Mississippi, Hines County, District 29. I'm telling you, I'm on the front line for you. And I chose this life. I chose to obey. I chose to come back. I'm asking you to choose me as your next state senator. Let me explain this to you one last time. I've done what they told me to do. I've said what they told me to say. I went to the schools they said we need to go to. I dressed the way they say we need to dress. I wore my clothes the way they said to wear. All that stuff. I never had a tattoo on my body because they said that was not appropriate. That's not good. I didn't get my first tattoo. I didn't get a tattoo until I did so with my baby boy. And I was 50 years old, and I got Matthew 6:33 tattooed on my body. Never had a tattoo before. Why? Because they told us how to dress, how to act. I never had an earring before. I got an earring, and I tell people that was my quiet rebellion against a community, against a culture that told me what to do, how to act, what to wear, where to go to school, what degrees to get. And I did all of that, but yet they kept their foot on the necks of my people. And the biggest thing some of you want me to do is take the earring out my ear so I can be more acceptable to other folk. Well, okay, but guess what? It's deeper than that. At what point do we decide to define what's our own? At what point do what are we going to say to our children when somebody that followed all the rules and did it the right way and became the person they're supposed to be, went to the right schools, and yet you won't give them a chance to lead a majority black district? Listen, I'm on the front line for you, and I'm going to stay there. Thank you, Beatrice Brown. God bless you. I pray blessings on your life. And listen, I'm one of the type of guy that nobody has to agree with me all the time. Sometimes I don't agree with myself. But guess what? I'm going to keep standing. I'm going to keep trying to make it right. What's wrong? Help me make it right. What's wrong? I love y'all. May God bless you. May God keep you. Peace.